They weren't protesters. Don't dare call them protesters. They were a riotous mob, insurrectionists, domestic terrorists.
Look, I'm not going to offer any more comment than the one I've already made on this issue. I think what we've seen in the United States is terribly distressing.
What happened today in Washington, D.C. is not America. Definitely.
غربی چقدر فشله و چقدر سسته.
Donald Trump has condemned the chaos at the Capitol and called for calm as demands grow from both sides of politics that he be removed from office immediately. President Trump says it's been the honour of his lifetime to serve as president, in his strongest acknowledgement yet that his time is up.
With the eyes of the world on Washington and the walls closing in on Donald Trump, he finally admitted his presidency is over.
A new administration will be inaugurated on January 20th. My focus now turns to ensuring a smooth, orderly, and seamless transition of power. This moment calls for healing and reconciliation.
USA! USA!
A drastic change in tone just a day after telling supporters this.
Nearly 2 decades have passed since the Indonesian island of Bali was rocked by a triple bombing that killed more than 200 people. 2 of the explosions hit the popular Kuta district, where tourists flocked in droves to nightclubs. Among the dead were 88 Australians, 38 Indonesians, and citizens of more than 20 other countries. Several perpetrators were identified as members of an extremist militia linked to Al-Qaeda. One of those leaders, 82-year-old cleric Abu Bakr Bashir, remains the suspected mastermind behind the Bali bombings, but has vehemently denied involvement. Repeated attempts by prosecutors to prove it have failed. But in 2011, Bashir was convicted of supporting a jihadi training camp. He denied those charges too, but was sentenced to 15 years in prison.
Focus at this hour, a South Korean delegation is headed to Iran to seek the early release of an oil tanker that was seized earlier by Tehran this week. Seoul has been seeking the release of the South Korea flagged ship and its crew. The South Korean delegation is being led by the Director General of the Foreign Ministry's Middle Eastern Affairs Department. Iran's seizure of the tanker came after Tehran had urged Seoul to release billions of dollars of Iranian assets frozen in South Korea under US sanctions. However, Tehran has denied these allegations that it is holding the ship and its crew hostage in order to pressurize South Korea to release $7 billion in funds. It is important to note that Iran was a key oil supplier to resource-poor South Korea until Washington's rules blocked the purchases. The Iranian Revolutionary Guard said that the tanker violated the environmental laws. Meanwhile, in a separate visit, the South Korean Vice Foreign Minister is due to travel to Tehran next week to discuss the issue of foreign assets, that is, the frozen assets. Seoul said that the visit is not related to the ship's seizure for now.
Boeing has reached a settlement with the US Department of Justice over 2 plane crashes that killed a total of 346 people and led to the grounding of its 737 MAX jetliner. The plane maker will pay more than $2.5 billion in fines and compensation in a deal that allows it to avoid prosecution. It includes a fine of more than $243 million and compensation to airlines of over $1.7 billion. There's also to be a $500 million crash victim fund over fraud conspiracy charges related to the plane's flawed design. The Justice Department deal, announced after market close on Thursday, caps a 21-month investigation into the design and development of the 737 MAX. The two crashes happened in Indonesia and Ethiopia in 2018 and 2019, respectively.
Move over, Jeff Bezos. Elon Musk is now the world's richest man, according to one estimate. Musk reached the pinnacle on Thursday, according to Bloomberg News, thanks to a surge in Tesla shares, which hit another record high and has skyrocketed 8-fold last year. That's pushed Musk's net worth to just under $189 billion, besting Bezos by $1.5 billion, according to the report. Musk has staged a stellar turnaround after nearly getting forced out of the electric car maker 3 years ago. Erratic behavior and controversial tweets put the 49-year-old in hot water with investors and the SEC back in 2018, forcing him to step down as company chairman. But since then, he's cleaned up his act, guided Tesla out of what he called manufacturing hell, steered it to become the world's most valuable car company, turned a profit, and saw Tesla get a coveted spot in the benchmark S&P 500 index.
An unprecedented high death toll due to the COVID-19 pandemic has left funeral parlours under tremendous pressure. They say they are now running short of coffins. Hundreds of people die daily, and the number is increasing exponentially in the resurgence of COVID-19. Over 31,000 people have died from the complications related to the virus alone.
Yeah, there's a stress in the funeral industry of the coffins, because usually in summer our mortality rate is low. So the manufacturers, they don't up the game to manufacture more coffins. So now, and they're also on holidays, so when they come back, they start to manufacture. But as we speak now, we are struggling with coffins, and the high rate of COVID-19 has come back to us to haunt us.
Meanwhile, Spain has reached the grim milestone of over 2 million cases of infections as of Thursday. And as cases continue to surge following the Christmas holidays, the milestone has come as the Health Ministry has announced as many as about 42,000 new cases of COVID-19 infections that were recorded in just the last 48 hours. Spain has also recorded about 245 deaths linked to COVID-19, raising the overall death toll in the country to over 51,000. The incidence rate has also shot up, rising from about 296 cases per every 1,000 people to about 321 now.
International arrivals to the UK will now have to present a negative COVID-19 test before being allowed into the country, according to new rules coming in next week. All passengers, including British nationals, will have to take a test up to 72 hours before entering the UK, or will not be allowed entry. Those who fail to comply with the new rule will face a £500 on-the-spot fine, and carriers will be fined if they are found not to be checking arrivals test results. People will have to present a negative test result when they check in with their airline, train company or ferry when entering Britain. Around 100,000 Brits are currently abroad on holiday and will have to find COVID tests before returning home. The rules will exclude haulers, children under 11 and travel crew. On top of requiring a negative COVID-19 test, passengers will also face existing rules, meaning they will have to quarantine for 10 days on arrival if travelling from a country outside of the Safe Travel Corridor list of nations.
For 44 days now, farmers have been protesting at Delhi's borders against the farm reforms, and I'm going to explain to you why we're seeing this deadlock continuing. The first demand, and the most basic one of the farmers, is the complete rollback of the 3 new farm laws, and that is something that the government has outrightly rejected, saying there's no question of even a discussion on that demand. There's also a demand to bring law to guarantee a minimum support price. Farmers are saying simply an assurance is not enough. On this front, talks will continue today as well, and hopefully we'll see a breakthrough. The third demand of scrapping the proposed electricity law has already been met and addressed by the government. They've said that, okay, we will accept that, we will scrap the electricity law. The fourth demand is to stop the penalization of farmers for stubble burning. Remember that the government had said that farmers will be punished if they resort to stubble burning. This has also been agreed to by the centre. The centre said we will go ahead and ensure there's no penalizing of the farmers. So two demands have been met. The one demand there's still discussions on, but the biggest bone of contention is on the demand of repealing of the 3 farm laws.